Hello, whoever you are, wherever you are. I've decided to do some recordings and document some of the thoughts and ideas that might go through my mind at certain times, in certain places, in different ways. It's a little strange doing so through this medium. Pressing the start button to record is a little like pressing the start button prior to testing your speed on a track. Also, doing so into a phone, as I have not talked on the phone very much in quite some time, as strange as that may sound. So I was thinking of different things that I might do in this space and asking myself why I might do those things. One of the things that I was thinking of doing was recording this piece that I wrote for a spoken word presentation, something like slam poetry, but not exactly like slam poetry in the sense that it was spoken word on a microphone. It was a very interesting experience, something that I had wanted to do for quite some time, something that was in the back of my mind, something that I never exactly thought that I would do. The experience was completely exhilarating. I just remember the feeling of, you might say, nameless dread prior to the moment. And I was the last to go, and each person that went before me was completely talented and had just very beautiful words to share. I remember when they called me, I had prepared for some days, maybe weeks, in different ways. I created my own methodology of preparation, and at that point it was go time, I guess you might say. All of those things there, but no longer there. Jumping without a safety net, as I thought of it. Going up there without a paper to read from and nothing to fall back on if you should stumble, which raised the possibility of something like extreme embarrassment maybe, or a fracture to your ego, which I guess is fine. What is the ego? But I remember they called my name, and as I said, it was go time, and I don't know if I would call it a pulpit. What's the word? The pedestal, not a pedestal, something like this. The pulpit, we'll call it a pulpit, because in a way it is a church-like environment. It is a transmission of the sacred from the beyond. So I walked up to the pulpit, which was relatively high in nature, and came up. It was a base that came up to the top part, and somehow it was like indicative of heights so exalted. When you get to that place, those heights are accentuated in your perception and very much asserted in such a way that you are completely aware of the possibilities of failure and success. And you look out and the crowd is there before you, eyes receptive to what it is that you might be presenting to them. And then you just start off. And once you start off, there's no stopping. And I told myself my main concern was to pronunciation and clear, concise transmission of the vision and message that I wanted to convey. That was my main. I didn't think necessarily of much else other than that. And allowing my instincts to take over, and it just, that was the onset of this wave-like movement that moved forth from the epicenter of this evolved idea, as it were, of this finished work that I was presenting. And it was an amazing moment. The benefit of jumping without a net and having nothing to fall back on, and not reading from a paper, was connecting with the audience in an entirely different way. And so there was a group of men and students from the University of Michigan. It was this creative writing course or creative writing workshop. I would say you would call it a workshop. And so there was two students from the University of Michigan that led this workshop, and they brought their friends, and there was some professors and different people from that institution. And I just remember the looks on their faces were something like ecstasy or joy, and they just had the biggest smiles on their faces, and they were nodding as I made eye contact with them, which was a whole nother level, because you're trying to maintain the course of communication, the output of information that you're presenting, while creating conduits of eye contact, which generates an entirely different, it's importing while exporting and trying to stay on track, but it enhances the power of this connection that's being made between the audience and the person at the center of this energetic waveform, if you will. And then I just looked at some of my compatriots in oblivion, and they also had some similar looks of approval, I would say. In this moment, it was just a convergence. It felt like my entire life had always been moving to that particular moment. It was some transcendent, deep, and beautiful metaphor that was like the treasures of heaven. I mean, you could make millions of dollars in your life. You could have tangible, fungible goods and assets and asset classes and any number of things that are supposedly of great value, but they don't compare to moments of this nature where you just see yourself in the mechanism of the universe and you see your connection within that mechanism in such a profound way. All the gears that have been turning over time have reached this point of alignment, and the end product of that alignment is this ineffable form of beauty, and you just realize there's meaning to your existence. There always was meaning, but the meaning has just been greatly enhanced and taken to levels that are unprecedented in your perception. And your perception has been receptive to the communications of the universe throughout all of this time, which has allowed you to create a cohesive form of the message that has been delivered to you through the mechanism. And it's just beautiful. Like, for me, it was metaphorical for the transcendental object at the end of time. I know that there is much further to go, and there was points that were of a similar nature to this experience at different times throughout my life. Each one just furthering you, it's further advancement into the unknown, and advancement and progress is of the highest class in our existence. Times that we recognize that our spiritual development and our intellectual evolution continues forth. And we just understand that we have significance and meaning at our very core. Our quintessential essence and being is of the highest worth and highest value above all things, because we are connected to that transcendental object at the end of time, which supersedes and transcends all existence. Yes, we must merge and navigate this chaos and the high strangeness of existence and all of these interactions and in-betweens within that realm. But we are ultimately connected to that great beyond, and we have confirmation in moments like that. So that was something that I thought would be cool. Because to memorize and to encode a piece like that, it was pretty extensive. To do that is along the lines of learning to hold a thought form. And when you learn to hold a thought form, that's very powerful, because there's so much that you could do with that. It allows you to consolidate your energies, your willpower, and better assert that willpower into the structure of the structure and fabric of our reality, so that you could have some kind of influence. And of course, there's still cause and effect and different laws that interact with that potential, but the potential is existent and in existence. So having done that was also part of it, was advancing in my knowledge of my personal capacity and potential. And so I still have kept that thought form encoded in my mind. I return to it. That's the thing when you work on this, when you do these kind of workings, so you can let some time go by, and it you can encode thought forms deeper into your mind by revisiting them at a greater and greater space or span of time. So where when you're first starting off encoding this particular thought form, you would revisit it, say, at an X amount of time spent, say, once every 12 hours, and then you just increase that. And then pretty soon you may be revisiting it once a month or once every 3 months. But the closer you revisit it to the point of drop off, to the point where you would forget it, the tighter, the greater the connection you have to that thought form. And so the more ingrained and encoded it becomes into your mind and your spirit, you might say. So those were some of the attributes of that experience, and part of the reason that I think I would like to present that at some point. I hope you enjoyed some of these ruminations and contemplations, and I'm beginning to learn to interact with this medium, I suppose you might say. It's currently 3 a.m. over here, and whoever you are and wherever you are in my thoughts.